Hooked it on?
Yeah.
Okay. I'd like to call the East Lyme Board of Finance special meeting Tuesday, June 16th to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. Before I go to delegations, I would like to just do a little change on our agenda. We had one item under new business, and we have back in front of us tonight a discussion and update from the Flanders Fire Department on the fire apparatus that was before us at our last meeting. And after delegations, if there's no objection from the board, we'll let them go first. We don't want to keep them here in the event that there's something else for you guys to do, which I hope there is.
Not.
Right. For fun, not as a fireman. That said, is there anyone in the public that would like to speak at delegations? If you could, for the record, state your name and address.
Michael Mines, 1 Goldfinch Terrace. I'm in favor of doing whatever needs to be done to preserve the property on Sodom Hill in the area of Goldfinch as a forest trust. I hope that you will approve that agenda item tonight. That said, based on my experience living across the street from the entrance to that property for several years, I ask that the following be considered. The property needs to be cleared of all the debris that has been dumped there by several landscaping companies over the past several years. The property needs to be cleared of the debris left by the logging company that's been logging up there for the last couple of years. Use policies or regulations need to be developed and clear signage posted stating those policies and regulations. Those policies and regulations should address times when the area is open to the public, whether or not the use of off-road vehicles, motorized vehicles, four-wheelers, dirt bikes, and snowmobiles is allowed, whether the use of on-road vehicles like automobiles and pickup trucks are allowed, whether or not hunting is allowed, and when non-hunters should avoid the area for their own safety, whether or not the harvesting of logs or other materials is allowed by anyone not authorized by New England Forestry Foundation and or the town of East Lyme, whether or not overnight camping is allowed, whether the town of East Lyme, New England Forest Foundation, or both are accountable for enforcement of the policies, and whether the town of East Lyme, the New England Forest Foundation, or both will purchase liability coverage for accidental injury or death on that property. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the public that would like to address the board? Anyone else in the public? Yep. Barbara?
Barbara Johnston, 35 Seacrest Avenue. I am familiar with most of this property that is being asked to be purchased, if you want to call it that, or just purchase the easements by the town of East Lyme. And I am against the purchase. I am on the Harbor Commission, but I am not speaking for the Harbor Management Commission. I'm speaking as a citizen. You're not purchasing, the town would not be purchasing the property. I've never heard of any town purchasing property, but not owning it. And that's a serious matter in my estimation. The other thing is the Route 11 will be coming near or through that property, maybe in the near future, but maybe not. And are we going to have another eminent domain because of this problem, which the state would claim the land? And the other problem I have is the 40 acres. If you're going to purchase it, then purchase the whole thing. Not let the developer or whoever the New England management company is to save the 40 acres for themselves, purchase the whole thing, if that's the case that the town feels they're gonna do. But purchase the property in the name of the town of East Lyme, not just for the easement rights. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the public that would like to speak at delegations? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next agenda item. As I said, we'll go to old business, discussion and update of the Flanders Fire Department fire apparatus. We have in front of us a newly printed handout, and if somebody would like to get us and update us. Your name and address for the record.
Dan Summers, 5 Nelson Drive. Your last meeting, we presented and you requested that we look further for demonstration models or used equipment, which we have, and we wanted to come back and fill you in on what we've located, we think is a good option for the town should we pass the town meeting. We wanted to let you know what we came up with. We've located a Schmiel demonstrator, which is actually on the assembly line now. The cabin chassis are there. They're working on building the ladder. That's the next step. They mount the ladder and then they build all the cabinetry, the body work under the ladder. We have a delivery estimate of July, of July of 2016, should we go out and bid a new one. If we purchase this Schmiel that's already under construction, it'll bump it up to this mid-September of this year, and that'll limit the liability that the town would have trying to keep the current truck in service. Got an estimated cost of $1,142,000. In comparison, this truck would have a 2,000 gallon per minute pump rather than a 1,500. The main difference is in the spec. We specified a Ferrera cab, which either company could build off of. This one is a Spartan cab. Our two current engines are Spartan cabs, so we're familiar with Spartan cabs, and there's no issue with it being a Spartan cab. The idea was to match the rescue truck, so they all look pretty sitting there. But the Spartan cab is also a good quality cab. We'd be perfectly satisfied. The seating is the same in it. Height-wise, it's 6 inches taller, but it's still, the bridge down here is 11.4. So we have plenty of clearance to get under the Black Point Road Railroad trestle. It's lower than the current trucks, so it'll fit in the station fine. It is a little over a foot longer, but that is basically the bucket hanging off the back up high, so fitting in the station isn't an issue. What we would lose is 15 cubic feet of cabinetry, which was something that we added in the specs. When we get back to the pictures, I can go in more detail. We basically raised the upper cabinets to make a 2-foot cabinet so we could get Scott air packs in. So we'd be similar to what we have now, where we have Scott packs in outside cabinets. However, the cab we have now only has 2 Scott seat positions. This one has 5, so we'd actually only be losing 1 Scott pack, so to say, and we could fit that in the cabinetry we would get. So that we didn't find that to be a big deal. The Spartan cab does have a different airbag system. The Schmiel airbag system, you have to roll it over to get them to activate. The Spartan is a more advanced system. It works like your car. If it hits a certain speed at a certain angle, if it hits the points, they'll activate. And it also has a vehicle stability system, which kind of takes control and brakes different wheels to keep you from rolling over, which we thought was a good option. Some of the positive, because it's the same brand truck as Nianix Aerial, the outriggers will be the same, operate the same. Any cross-training we do, either with the full-time staff or the volunteers. It's the same operating system. They could set our truck up, run the jacks out, and already have that experience, so that the cross-training, which we do with the full-timers, we get a new piece of equipment and we cross-train to it. Does have the larger pump, which we went over. It has a larger engine. Has an Omni system pump panel, which is about the size of a smart pad, which you run your whole pump from, where you used to have levers and gauges and everything. It's all electronic, which is what they're going to. And we questioned whether that could be changed back to the old style to save money. They said it would actually cost more to switch it back. And they also pointed out that the new vehicles, all the manual levers are just operating electric switches. So behind the panel, it's doing the same thing. Again, production delivery would be 10 months earlier. They're estimating mid-September. We do have an opportunity to make changes to some of the cabinetry. We wanted some tubes for pike poles that they can still put in. The potential cost savings, $157,000 and change. There's also potential if we pre-buy the chassis, which I know when I was on the truck committee in Niantic and we bought trucks, we pre-buy the chassis. If we put it out to bid with the original spec, it would be like a $10,000 savings, but because they already have the chassis sitting there, you're basically saving the interest on the chassis for them. So potential for about $5,000 by the time we get there. It's $75 less a day, depending on when we get a PO written or if we get a PO written. We also got the news that New England Fire Equipment, who is a local dealer for Schmiel, is actually interested in the old truck. And they're willing to send a mechanic down to evaluate it and give us a number. I don't know what that'll be, but it's another option of how to get rid of the existing truck. That price we haven't gotten. Next page is just the spec drawing. This happens to be the Ferrero one. If you look above the rear wheels, those two upper cabinets, just remember what they look like, and then go to the next page and you'll see the Schmiel demo drawing. They're a little bit shorter, and that's where we're losing the 15 cubic feet of space. Some of the things we were asking them to modify while they still could. The rear doors, these here, are roll-up doors, which from experience we really don't like. So we're getting those changed to the paddle doors, which all the others are. There's a cord reel in that we're going to take out of the compartment and put up on top in the hose bed to gain the space in that compartment. On the roof, we're actually just having to build a diamond plate box. It's 5 feet by 2 feet by a foot deep that we can put high-rise packs in. The hose packs, they're pre-packed 100 feet with nozzles on them. So if we had to go, say, to the junior high school, to the 3rd floor balcony, we can grab those right off the roof, put them in the basket, go up, and we're ready to go. And that's where they get used most, so that's the most logical place. Mr. Kelly pointed out my 1.12 million is incorrect. That's 1.14 with our changes to try and meet our original specs. Let's see what else is on here. Basically, the other things were changed were a couple lights. A floodlight that was a permanent mount. We wanted removable so we could run the cord reel out and use the floodlights out in the yard somewhere or whatever. So those are minor changes. Adding a Stokes basket to the side of the aerial, where you see the ladder trucks go down, they say Flanders on the side. They pull those out, and you can tuck the Stokes basket in there. There's really no other way to secure the things on the trucks because they're unwieldy. We changed the selection of ground ladders. They had a 40-footer in there, which is a little too much to handle, so we opted to go with a 3-section 35-footer with our limited manpower that's easier to handle. And that saved us $100. Next page is just a picture of the actual cab and chassis. If we were to go